Hi everyone, it's Monday Tech Tip Talks Q&A, and I am Sarah Walworth, and this is our new home, Tech Tip Talks, and it has its own profile. Let me get Christina in here. There she is. Hi everyone, Christina.
Ooh.
I think it's changed the way it's changed.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different than it was last time.
Sorry that took us so long, you guys. Something was not working right.
Oh, technology can be a beast. So
Yeah, and I won't say that I'm the most professional at it, you know.
All right, so we're here though. Hi everyone, welcome. It's March 2021, and this is our monthly Tech Tip Q&A. And I am Sarah Walworth. I'm a tech editor.
Oh, I'm Christina McGrath. I am a knitting tech editor.
And we are here to answer your questions about knitting, tech editing, knitting design, pattern writing, gauge, sizing. You ask us any questions and we'll do our best to answer.
Any and all related things to knitting patterns, really.
We're super glad you all are here. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to throw your questions into the comments below if you have anything specific you want us to answer today. We did get a few questions in our little places that we ask for them. And you all can feel free at any time during the month between our Tech Tip Q&As to send us a question. We now have this new profile on Instagram. Tech Tip Talk is now got its own website called techtiptalk.com and its own YouTube channel where all of our previous talks are kept there.
Yep.
Are there.
You can watch the videos right from our website too.
And you can watch them from our website. And Christina is in the process of adding chapters to all of our videos so that you can find a particular topic in a previous Tech Tip Talk.
I'm about halfway done with them, and it's pretty cool because you can just click on what you want to listen to and not have to watch the whole thing.
Yes, so you don't have to watch us ramble on through an hour of, of different topics you're not interested in. If you want something specific, you can find it there. So we're very excited to have a new place for this talk. And we're excited about where we're headed with it. We are still working on our rough draft of our book. I think we have all the chapters drafted now, right?
We have all the chapters drafted, but we did recently start thinking about a chapter we might want to add. So
yes. And
yeah, we do maybe want to add a chapter. We're not really sure. So I don't know.
We have ideas. So we're not sure. And plus you guys always give us new ideas about topics. So
yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started. Should we start with the follow-up question that we had from last time, Christina?
I think so. Yeah, let's wrap that up. Let's finish up last time. We did get a question that relates to what we talked about last week with with the conversions and everything. So
just to recap, last month we talked about conversion factors and measurements. And remember that in most knitting patterns, the conversion ratio between the two measuring systems in the world, which is imperial and metric, in knitting patterns, it's 2.5 centimeters to 1 inch or 10 centimeters to 4 inches. So it's not exact like it is in other areas of industry like science or medicine. It's a little bit less precise because we're talking about knitting and stitches. So that ratio that is defined in your gauge part of your pattern, which is 10 centimeters to 4 inches, is generally how a lot of people talk about gauge when they are introducing gauge in a pattern. That ratio is 2.5. So the questions that we had last month were, well, should I use 2.54 or should I use 2.5? We would encourage you to go back and watch that video because in knitting, we're less precise to be more accurate. In order to have the gauge in both systems work, you have to use the ratio 2.5, which is how your gauge is defined in the pattern. So then our follow-up question this month was, well then, if I'm using 2.5 for the circumference, so then should I use 2.54 for the lengths? And again, the follow-up question is exactly the same information. Whatever you're dealing with, whether it be circumferences or lengths, the ratio is the same. The base ratio that we're using in knitting is 2.5. No matter, the conversion's the same, no matter which measurement.
Because the gauge is 4 inches to 10 centimeters this way and this way. It's a 10 centimeter square. And because the gauge is given over 10 centimeters equals 4 inches, that's 2.5 equals 1 inch. And so whether you're measuring rows or stitches, you need to convert with 2.5 to get the size of the item the way it's supposed to be. Exactly.
So no matter what you're measuring, we're talking about a square for the gauge that is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters in metric and 4 inches by 4 inches in imperial. So it's a little bit outside of what we're used to if we're used to doing conversions for science or medicine or something like that. But in the knitting realm, this is the conversion that best matches if that's how you have defined it in your pattern. Make sure that it matches whatever you've defined it as. Okay, I think we've wrapped that up. Mm-hmm. You think you got that good?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other question that we got is something that we've answered before, but we're willing to answer again and maybe go in a little bit more in depth. Let me find it here. Oh boy, I think I misplaced it. Okay.
Sarah's got all her papers mixed up.
Okay, the question was, and let me pull it up here because that's probably the best place for me to do it. How and where would I start as a beginning tech editor? So let's answer the how first. What do you think, Christina?
The only thing I'm not sure about this question is this person already a tech editor, but they're brand new? Mm-hmm. And how and where can they start? Mm-hmm. Or if they're not yet a tech editor, where should they begin to learn how and start out doing that? So if you want to become a tech editor and you don't know how to tech edit or be a tech editor or what that would entail, there's the courses that we took to learn to tech edit from the Tech Editor Hub, the Learn to Tech Edit courses. And now it's a master class, one big class. And I would highly recommend you take it if you want to be a tech editor. That's just such a great education, such a valuable resource. So if that's what you want to be doing, we cannot recommend that class enough.
Yeah, I agree.
If all you really need to conduct your business is like an email address so people can get in touch with you. Mm-hmm. But you need to, of course, find the people, right? You need to find designers to work with. So it does help to have a social media presence, seek out the designers that you would like to work, or just designers that do the kinds of things you want to do, knitting designers who design the kinds of patterns you want to edit. Seek them out, try to be helpful to them, comment on things that they do, and try to build a client base that way. Be present on social media and make sure that you're sharing actively so people can get to know you and who you are and what you have to offer. Having a website, like I think Sarah said this before, you don't need to have like a whole big website with millions of pages and articles and that. You need like just a landing page, a place that people can go to see what you do and how they can get in touch with you to work with you. So that's really, since this business is not all, but it's online. I mean, I'm not working with people in person. I'm getting emails, documents into my email and sending them back to them through email. So there's, to reach out to those people, social media has just been a great tool. Instagram has just been a great tool for reaching these people and connecting. You can also, if you're able to use Ravelry, there are groups on Ravelry where there's designers. There's a Tech Editor Hub Facebook group where you can go in, where people, designers and editors, will ask questions. If you know the answers, you want to be helpful in that group, that's a good way to get your name out there.
The biggest thing is to be helpful.
To be helpful,
in many
because
places is how you find clients.
That's really how you're going to sort of audition yourself, right? Like, as where you don't have maybe a resume to give somebody, of all your skills or whatever, or the best way to put yourself out there and let people know who you are and what you're capable of is to be helpful in these spaces that are online where designers are.
So
wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that's the best way to get started if you feel like you're ready to start tech editing. If you feel like you're not quite ready and you want to learn more, then definitely seek out the course that we mentioned at the Tech Editor Hub. And also that's taught by Joel Lee Kelly, who we both learned from and were able to start our businesses right away after we took her course. And there are other ways that you can get practice. And the practice is you can, if you have a friend who is a designer, you can ask them if you can look at a draft of a pattern versus a completed published pattern and compare what needed to change, what mistakes were found. You can also offer to do some tech editing for free in exchange for a testimonial if you're getting started. Some of our colleagues have done that in the past when they're just starting to get their business going.
That's a great thing to do, because you do want to get some patterns under your belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both
it takes practice.
Yeah, because I mean, really, the longer you're tech editing, the more patterns you edit, the better you're going to get at it. And there's just no getting away from that. Experience really helps. Mm-hmm. So offering to do a free pattern for somebody in exchange for a testimonial is great, because if you do your best work for them, they're going to have good things to say about you, and that's going to be something you can put on your website or you can share on social media, and people will get to know that you're good at tech editing or that you're a good person to work with and you're reliable. Something that I did when I first started, and this is another reason why it's great to be active in these places online where designers and tech editors are, is because I knew a tech editor from the computer, right, who was also a designer. And I tech edited a bunch of her patterns for a really low rate when I first started. And that was great feedback for me, because she was a designer, but she was also a tech editor too. So that was really a good way for me to, learn anything I might be slipping up on, and to get some practice that,
right.
Wouldn't mean that I was giving someone back a bad pattern. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it really does take practice. The other thing is there's a lot about running a tech editing business that we can't go into detail here during this time, but we would highly recommend that you join yourself to where all the tech editors are. So join the Tech Editor Hub on Facebook. You can also go to the Uncomfortable Creative, which is Jolie Kelly's Mighty Networks. There is a Tech Editor Hub group in there. There are other places online that tech editors kind of group together and get to know some other tech editors. The biggest thing that I would recommend is realizing that you can't tech edit all by yourself in your own little bubble. It really helps to have colleagues and networking with other tech editors. It is not, while we're all working at our computers at home alone, in reality, you need people in order to do your job well and to run your business well. You need friends in the industry too. So we highly recommend that you get to know other tech editors, or you find some way to join to get connected with other people that are doing the same thing.
Well, and that can start out, I mean, so like I hate Facebook, okay? It's not my favorite place. It's not, I've just learned over many years, it's not a good place for me to be. So I used to be really active in the tech editing and designing groups on Facebook, and I did meet a lot of people there and offer my help and learn a lot from other people too. And now I'm not doing that. So I just want to say that on Instagram, there are a lot of not just designers, but tech editors who have accounts on Instagram, and you can get to know them that way. You can find them on Instagram.
Right.
You can seek them out also. You can comment on their things. You can sort of get to know them and what they're doing. And, you know, the benefit of having tech editing colleagues isn't just in case you can't do it or you need to refer somebody to somebody or things like that. But you can learn so much just from what they share.
Yes.
And what they work on and what they talk about. You can learn a lot that will help you in your business beyond just, beyond even just asking questions. I mean, they might just tell you things. How is tech editing charged? That's a question we just got. So it varies. Some tech editors charge like a flat rate for that project, and they will give you an estimate based on your specific project and that for a flat rate.
Like all hats are $20 for an edit or something like that.
Or even each specific pattern, they may give you a different amount for that specific pattern.
Right.
I think that most of us charge by the hour. That's what I do.
Because you can have an 800-word pattern and it can take 1 hour or it can take 4. It just really varies on how many errors there are and how much changes there needs to happen to make the pattern correct and consistent.
I mean, the problem, the estimating is very difficult because, okay, I would have to tech edit the whole pattern to know how long it's going to take me. Because just reading through a pattern, glancing at it, you know, checking to see what they've done, checking all the best you can in like a 15-minute, 10-minute window, that's not enough. You have to get into it. You have to really know what's going on in that pattern. You have to be able to do all the math. And until you've done all that, you don't know how long it's going to take because the math could all work out. Be great.
Right.
Or the style could all be bad. And you won't know that from just glancing at it. There's so many things that could go wrong that you can't see at first glance. So estimating is really hard. And so I think that if you're honest about valuing your work, it's good. You know, charging by the hour is a great idea because you're going to be working those hours.
And if you're just starting out in tech editing, you may want to just charge a flat rate as you're getting your experience. And as your experience improves and your editing speed improves, then you can go to an hourly rate. That's what I did.
Is grading charged the same?
Yeah. Is grading charged the same? I think it varies by tech editor. Every tech editor runs their business a little bit different. If I grade a pattern, I do it by the hour also. But some tech editors may charge a flat fee based on the amount of sizes that they are grading. So you'll have to ask the tech editor directly when you are soliciting them for service, just to find out how they bill and how they charge.
But I think that's really important, Sarah, to say. Like we just gave, you know, how we do things.
How we do it, yeah.
But everybody does do it differently. You know, people, it's not like there's one rate. It's not like there's one way to do it. Every tech editor has their own way that they bill. Even how many increments they bill by, what things are included, or just an example, like if I do a final proof and it takes me less than 15 minutes to do, I don't bill for that 15 minutes. If it takes me much longer to do that proof, then I do add it to my bill. So
right.
There's all kinds of things that people might do differently, and in addition to whether or not they charge hourly or they charge a flat rate. So it's just ask. You got to ask. Yeah,
you just got to ask, and you also have to decide if you are a beginning tech editor, how do you want to run your business? What makes sense for you, and where you live, and all those things. What would you say is an average hourly rate? That I can't say because we all work in different, there are tech editors who work across the globe in different countries with different levels of living wage. You can find a tech editor that will work for a certain amount and another one that will charge double that. It really varies because we're working all over in different places, which are different. I guess it's the easiest way to put it is I don't think there's an average hourly rate. You have to decide if you're a designer how much you want to budget for tech editing in your design business and find the tech editor that will give you the best work for that amount. Also realize there's something going on in the way tech editors often bill is the more experience they have, they may charge a higher hourly rate, but they also may work faster and be more quick at their work. So sometimes tech editors who don't have a lot of speed, if they're charging an hourly rate, may charge a lower hourly rate than others. Sometimes the hourly rate, if it is higher, can be an indication that they have a lot of experience and they're very good. It just varies. It's hard for me to answer that question. I don't know that I can go be more detailed than that. How about
there's
you,
so
Christina?
much variation, and there's so much variation for different reasons, and that's it's really important to just ask.
Yes.
What are your rates? How do you bill? So you know what to expect.
Yes. And that's part.
And most tech editors, I'd say, you can never say everybody, right? So, but most tech editors are going to give you an estimate. They're going to give you the best estimate they can of what they expect you to have to spend before they begin your pattern.
Right.
So that you can know where you are,
The other thing we were discussing before we started this chat was we wanted to kind of touch a little bit on if you are a beginning tech editor or you're considering becoming a tech editor, how do you know if tech editing is a good job for you or is a good career path for you? What things make tech editing a good fit? And Christina and I both started tech editing from different places, and we both are different people, and we both get different things out of it. So we wanted to kind of share with you what tech editing looks like, what kind of job it is, and so that maybe if you are interested in becoming a tech editor, it would give you some idea of how that, whether or not that would be a good fit for you. Can you repeat the name of the course for tech editing? Yes, go to the Tech Editor Hub, HUB, here on Instagram, and go to their courses. And it's Learn to Tech Edit is the name of the course, is the one that we both took to get started. So I got started tech editing because I was studying to be a copy editor, and I didn't want to edit academia or medical books or newspapers or other publishing. I wanted to be in knitting because it was my love and my obsession. And so I found tech editing to be the answer to that because it's kind of like copy editing for knitters. It's technical though because it has a lot of math in it. So you will know if tech editing is good for you if you love tech editing requires you to knit in your head a pattern. When I'm tech editing, I am working through in my head everything that I would be doing on the needles, and I'm doing it on paper or in a spreadsheet, and I'm taking apart every stitch count, every beginning stitch count in a row, every ending stitch count, every increase, every decrease, all the patterning and the stitch patterning to make sure it works, make sure the measurements are correct. So it's like very detailed and related to math. And I loved it. I love taking that detailed of a look at a pattern and also kind of forecasting. What could go wrong with this, or how could this be interpreted by the knitter and maybe misunderstood? So tech editing requires a fine understanding of the craft, experience. You should be an experienced knitter. You should have a lot of knitting experience under your belt in the area that you want to tech edit. So you want to tech edit shawls. Well, you should have a lot of experience knitting shawls and understanding shawl construction. And then that itself will allow you to be very detailed in taking apart the pattern and understanding it word by word and number by number to find if there are mistakes.
That even more, yeah, because even more, I think even more than needing, not even more, but as well as understanding different types of shawl construction, I think you just need to have used a lot of patterns and a lot of different styles of patterns to have a good sense of how things should be, how things should be directed, what needs to be included to get you what you need. Like, you need to be familiar with patterns and working with patterns. You have to love knitting, like,
yes.
Because it's going to become all you think about. And it's going to become what you're talking about on email all the time. It's going to become what you're thinking about. It's going to become what you're working with.
What you dream about.
It's got, you've got to love knitting, and you've got
yes.
to have a good experience working with patterns so that because that's like the medium you're working with, right? Is a knitting pattern. And I always used to laugh because everybody, like, not everybody, but lots of tech editors always are like, oh, I love math. So this is perfect. I love math. Like, I don't love math. Okay. I'm like this anomaly tech editor who does not think math is fun. I don't love math. The reason that doesn't matter is because I love knitting and I love working with knitting patterns and I love getting them right. It's really important to me. And that's the editing piece that it's just a personality thing. I love getting things right. And I also you have to have a really good, you kind of mentioned this, you have to have a good attention to detail. You really have to be able to pick up on little tiny things that other people don't notice, Yes. You've got to be able to see those things, these things that nobody sees. And you've got to love knitting. And I don't love math. Like, I do it because I want to get the knitting pattern right. And I think what's fun about math is the knitting math and what has to happen to get it to come out right. That's exciting and that's fun.
So
that's
experience,
and fun.
Yeah. So Farm Fresh
experience
with
different styles,
different styles, yes. And you have to understand how knitting patterns work to instruct knitters. Like, how do we use words to tell knitters how to do something?
So because writing a pattern is a whole different way of writing. I mean,
it's technical writing.
You can knit something, but then you have to think, how do I put this on paper to communicate how to do this for someone else in a simple, clear way, especially when you're talking about a lot of sizes that have to be communicated in a concise way. It's kind of tricky to do. Yes. So being familiar, and now you're not writing it, of course, you're tech editing it, but I think something that a tech editor is helpful to the designer for is being able to see if that's the best way to say it, if that's the clearest way to say it, if there's a simpler way they could say it. So it helps to be thinking about that and have seen a lot of that done.
The other thing is to know if tech editing is right for you is if you're the kind of person that loves to collaborate with other people, because you are not going to be someone who is dictating what's right and wrong, but you're going to be working together kind of as a partnership with the designer to help them, to be a support to them, kind of to be invisible behind the scenes a little bit, to give them the confidence that they need to publish a pattern without errors. So this is a collaborative relationship. It's not that you're coming in to say you're wrong and you didn't this right and that, because that can be destructive. So you're building up the person that you're working with, you're helping them. So if you're this kind of person that loves to help, but also can work together with someone in a detailed way to build a relationship, a professional relationship. That's going to be part of your job too.
Well, and I've talked about this before. So much of the job is how you communicate with your client and how you communicate the things you find in their pattern. And you have to remember that your client and who you're serving is the designer, right? It's not the pattern.
Right.
You're helping them achieve what they want to get through and get across in their work. And you've got to do that in a constructive, kind, cooperative way. It's so much of the job is how you communicate. And you've got to remember that the designer is who you're serving. I really think that's important. So you have to like working with people. It's funny that you would think you don't, because it's like this isolating job, because here we are, we're sitting at our desks at home by ourselves, but it's a very interactive, you're working with people.
Yes.
You're not working by yourself. You might be working by yourself while you're sitting there for the 3 hours, whatever, doing that sweater, but there's so much back and forth, and you're always thinking about their vision, their goal, what they want, what they're trying to do.
What they're trying to achieve. So is the course you suggested for tech editing for both knit and crochet? It is primarily for knit, although it could be applied to crochet. At this time, the Tech Editor Hub does not have a crochet tech editing course, so I would recommend, if you are a crocheter and you want to become a crochet tech editor, which is incredibly useful right now, there's a need for those, go ahead and just Google crochet tech editing course. There are some other ones. I don't know the name of them off the top of my head, so feel free to just go and do an internet search and you'll be able to find some that will work for you. Sorry, I don't have more information on that. We are knitting tech editors, so if you all in our audience here have taken a crochet tech editing course that you can recommend, feel free to throw it into the comments and we'll shout it out.
There's another question.
Yeah,
generally speaking, about how many hours do you tech edit a week once established? Oh, I think we talked about this before too.
Yeah,
we probably can't do more than 4 or 5 hours of tech editing a day. It's really intense work.
Whew. It's intense
it's intense work and it hurts your brain.
Yes.
And so we probably don't do more than 4 or 5 hours a day. And so if we work Monday through Friday, or maybe only a few days a week, I don't know, what would you say? I'd say I do about 15.
I do an average of about 15 to 18, and that's like my limit. I had one week where I did 30, and I was like on the floor on the weekend, like, oh, my head. It is so...
Oh, Yvonne says, sorry, honey. Yvonne says that Lynn Rowe offers a course in tech editing crochet. So that's great.
Lynn Rowe does. Excellent. I know Edie Ekman does have some information for tech editing too. So Foxfig, thank you for being here. You just discovered us. We're happy that you're here.
Yeah.
So we edit. If I'm doing only tech editing during a week, the most that I can spend is 15 to 18 hours, because if I have a full schedule. Otherwise, after about 4 hours of tech editing, my brain just is like done, and I stop seeing mistakes and I start making mistakes.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's why I think not just is it difficult because it's like you're working such intense work. It really is. You have to be very focused, and it's really intense work. But like you just said, the longer you go, you might not be so sharp anymore. You know, because your brain's going to get tired. Even though we take breaks, I take breaks, but
I do too.
Your brain gets tired. You can just do so much. So probably 15 hours a week, I guess, I'm actual editing time. Not how much time I'm working on my business, but actual editing time. We
spend a lot more time working on our business. So marketing ourselves, admin, scheduling, doing invoicing, lots of emails back and forth. We'll take many more hours.
Yvonne says she's a crochet tech editor, but she finds this still very helpful.
This all will apply to crochet tech editing also. So Foxfig says, makes sense. I'm trying to assess, will I have work? I have never considered tech editing until recently, but it feels perfect for me. I want to make sure I have work. Yes, and that's exactly how we both felt. When we found tech editing, we're like, this is for me. This is me. This matches me. Oh, where
Oh,
has this
so
been all my
perfect,
life?
right? Oh my God, it's
It's a
like made
perfect
for me.
job.
That's how I felt. Like, you've got to be kidding me. I can have a job in knitting, doing
And
all the goofy stuff about me that I love to do. You got to be
all the
kidding me.
nerdy math things that I love. So, what I would just encourage you to realize is it takes a while to build a tech editing business. I would give yourself 6 months of just gradually building up your client base. The way that I started was I did my very best work with my first few clients, and I used their testimonials to help get more clients. In other words, you have to tell people that you're tech editing. Number one, people need to know that you're tech editing. You need to talk about it in your social media and in other places. And you need to be helpful in other places so that people see how you work and, oh, she's helpful. She has a lot of great answers. Or, this person really knows their stuff. And then you slowly build up your client base and do your best work with your clients so that you can maintain them as your clients. So give yourself some time. It's like any other entrepreneurial venture. You're going to have to take time to build up your business
Right.
and to build up your client base.
Just because it takes time for people to get to know
Mm-hmm.
you and where you are and what you're doing. It just takes time. So
It
yeah, I think
does.
6 months is a good barometer. See how you're doing in 6 months. Do you still
Do,
do testing or only tech editing? No, I don't. I don't test patterns.
I don't test patterns at all, and that is something that we should probably tell you is we don't knit the pattern when we're tech editing. If
Nope.
we needed to check a stitch pattern, like we have a little swatch that we'll work on, like,
Yeah, like I've got some yarn and needles on my desk. If I need to,
but we
this is a
don't
little
knit the
tricky
whole
bit.
thing.
Yeah, like if there's a little tricky bit that you're it's not really making sense in words and you're not sure how to advise, just knit a little bit of it to figure it out. But no, no, no. Nope, we don't knit the pattern.
No, we don't knit the pattern, and testing is an aspect of knitting design publication that's an important component of getting your pattern ready for publication. Testing is one, tech editing is
Right.
another aspect. We do everything in our head, not on the needles.
So we have a
Um,
comment. She said, "Thanks for the answer. I start the hub course soon. So excited." Oh, that's
that's
awesome.
wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I hope it's a huge help for you. And please do join the group that Jolie has started. I think that would be a big encouragement to you too, to get to know other tech editors.
Yeah, there's really so much. I mean, I don't think we can say enough about community.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to
No.
know other designers, getting to know other tech editors, seeing them, online
Mm-hmm.
in a regular basis, and sharing ideas, learning from them. I mean, it's so much about the community, I think, for success, to be successful.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We did have a couple other questions. We had a question come in right before we started, Christina, on upper chest measurement. Do you want to go there, or do you want to go to the neckline question?
Well, we have 15 minutes. What do you think? I didn't realize we had another one. Sarah,
Mm,
you shouldn't let me
I
talk
know.
so
I
long.
didn't know. I looked at it right as I logged on. We can wait on the neckline one. How about if we let's go. Let me read this to you. Let me see if I can find it here. Sorry, I'm still learning how to get around on
I am taking
the
the TKGA course, but finding you has been very helpful. Oh, good.
yes, excellent. So that's the
The Knitting
other
Guild
the
Association
Knitting
has.
Guild Association has a tech editor program, but it does it does kind of assume that you already know how to tech edit in order to be able to complete their program. It requires you to do a lot of self-learning. So It's excellent if you want to get certified. If you're already a tech editor and you want to get your name out there on their board, that is something that's definitely good to do. So my opinion on all of this related to tech editing is you can get your information from anywhere. You can learn how to tech edit by taking a course, by practicing on patterns, by testing and then tech editing the patterns that you're testing. There's lots of different ways to go about becoming a tech editor. There isn't one way to do it.
Right.
We just are explaining how we did it. I just jumped into the Learn to Tech Edit course because I wanted to learn right away how to do it. I didn't want to wait and try and figure it out on my own.
But yes, if you do test patterns, you know, you could practice.
You could practice absolutely
on them, tech editing them. You could practice on patterns that you've already worked on that you have.
That are already published. You can just practice.
And you know, you could even just read all you can about what tech editing entails and what is actually happening during tech editing process and practice. You can do that too. The thing that's great about the course for me, and I think for most people, is that it alerts you to things you are not going to think about. And that's what was so great about the course for me, is that it just alerted me to all these things that I never would have known, I never would have thought about if I hadn't taken the course. Things I wouldn't have known what to do with, and I would have gotten to that thing, and I would have been like, you know, like just different elements of tech editing, right up to, you know, annotating the PDFs. I mean, there's a lot of good nuggets in that course that you might not think of on your own.
Yeah, and that's
helpful. Why I liked it so much.
Yeah, I think it's super helpful. Okay, so let's dive into this question. I'm sorry I'm giving this to you without any preparation, but I think you have a lot of opinions about
fire,
this.
I'm on the spot.
No, but I think you're a good person to ask this. So I'm curious if you think pattern schematics and measurements should include the upper bust dimensions, as this seems to be an area where people can struggle with fit as related to the bust measurement. And if so, where would you standardize that measurement be taken on the garment to taking it on the garment? This is a big topic, and we may need to spend some time on this in a future Tech Tip Q&A. But let's go ahead and define some terms here. A schematic is the table of measurements or a drawing with the measurements of the finished garment on it. So that's the finished measurements. The sizing chart is where you would have the body measurements. So bust measurement, and then the upper chest is usually this measurement right here, where your underarm break is related to your torso and your arm, and it's the circumference at that upper chest measurement. We usually say upper chest because it is not your bust. Your bust is in female people, is the area of the breast tissue. So your chest is actually your torso measurement, your upper chest measurement. So the question is, should the upper chest measurement be included? Because it is an area where people struggle with fit.
Should it be included on the schematic? So this is the thing for me. The schematic is the finished measurements of the garment. It's not body measurements.
That's correct.
I think having the upper bust measurements on the schematic of the garment is not as useful as sizing to the upper bust. I think it's important, upper chest, excuse me. I think it's important, this whole area and what she's asking about, where people have trouble, is because, just to explain a little further, people size themselves based on their body bust measurement and end up with shoulders that are too big most of the time, a lot of the time. So sizing yourself by the upper chest eliminates that problem most of the time and is a great idea. But having the upper chest measurement of the garment, I don't think is as helpful or as useful as sizing by the upper bust and then applying the ease you intend for the garment in all the places that are concerned for ease. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. So
I think it's less important
this measurement on the
schematic
schematic
may not be very helpful.
may confuse the knitter and may
Right.
not be helpful
Right.
unless you have sized the whole garment based on that circumference. So, in other words, if you are sizing the garment based on this because of the way the design is, or that's what you've decided, then that circumference needs to be on there. If that's how they're choosing their size, is according to the upper chest. But it isn't always, it's not necessarily a must for it to be on the schematic for every design. I wouldn't ever say it should be there.
I don't even know. I don't know that it always needs to be. I don't know, because when when you're getting to the eases that we're trying to attain to get fit we want in a sweater, maybe I'm just not used to it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's really important to size by the upper chest. Whether or not you put it on your schematic, I don't know if that's as important. I don't know if it would be misleading. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think this is an area that Christine and I are both exploring as to, okay, where are we going in this direction where we're going to make the upper chest measurement more important in sizing?
Josephine says a related measurement that can be added to the schematic is the cross-shoulder measurement of the garment. Yeah, Josephine, I'm glad you brought that up. The only problem I have with that, so for the front, you mean, and that's a
like
great
the cross shoulder, especially in a set-in sleeve.
And I have seen that a
garment.
lot. I would caution against using the cross back. I don't think anybody can get that measurement on themselves. I think
can't
it
measure
confuses
your
the
own
knitter.
back.
I would not do that. But this measurement I have seen, and it's a good idea. It's a good idea, I think, to have that on the schematic. I think sizing by the upper bust is important. I'm not sure.
It's hard to make and it's hard to make generalizations about this because there's so many ways that a sweater can be designed, and there's so many different measurements that it can be like what the measurements that you would include in a schematic on a raglan may not be the same measurements that you would include on a schematic for a sewn together pieced set in sleeve sweater. So let's see. So if I want to back up you struggle where to find there's a comment that says I struggle with where to find this measurement and add it to my size chart. And the measurement is that upper chest circumference. Right. There's the upper chest circumference is on Isolde Teague's size chart. Isolde Teague has this measurement on her size chart. It's very useful to have it there. In the ASTM, all of the size charts have this measurement. If you have a way to access the ASTM. And Isolde's chart is a very good chart, and it is free on her website. And it does have the upper chest body measurements. Yeah. So Ruth says, I'm very intrigued by sizing by upper chest instead of full bust chest. I definitely want to explore this in future designs and would love to hear you both talk more about it. So I'm really intrigued by the whole putting it on the schematic if it's not an area that this is why I think, because when you're designing a garment, you're getting the shoulder fit right based on this cross measurement and based on the upper chest of the body. This part of the body. But that's not where you're going to be. Do you know what I'm saying? That's not where you're going to be. It's like really the business of it happens in the shoulders, and the instructions you're going to give for the shoulders and the instructions you're going to give for the neckline are going to be determined by the upper bust. But this area itself is not going to be. Oh, I'm not making any sense. We have to delete this video, Sarah. No, no, we're not. We're not deleting anything. See, here's the thing is sweaters are generally sized for the last however many decades. We pick a size according to the bust circumference, but bust circumference does not necessarily match our actual torso circumference. So the amount of breast tissue you have can determine your bust size, but that doesn't necessarily match what the size of your shoulders and your upper chest are. So we're starting to think about, okay, well, this upper chest measurement, the upper chest circumference is important. Then how do you size according to that?
So yes, it's updated. So she's saying that she has under bust on his shoulders chart, but not upper chest. So that's been updated. It was added. I had an older copy too. The same thing happened to me. You have to go get the new copy. So
yeah, so Isolda is YSOLDA. And her free size chart is on her website, so it's very easy to find with an internet search.
Oh, Lisa says I'm making sense. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not allowed to delete this, Christina. This has to stay on. I think we're starting to explore, related to sizing in the industry, different ways of looking at bodies and fit in order to produce knitting patterns that fit people better. And so there are a lot of, we cannot go with shoulds. Like there should be this and there should be that related to particular measurements, because every design is going to be a little bit different. And the way that we treat the finished schematic will vary according to the design and what you include. What you need to include in a schematic, just to answer the original question, is whatever the knitter needs in order to choose a size that fits their body shape, and whatever they will need if you are allowing for modifications. So if your sweater design allows for that knitter to knit to a length that they desire, then you need to tell them what is the length that the sweater pattern is going to give me. I think if you have to include in your schematic the measurements that are going to give the knitter the information they need to make a sweater that fits them well.
Hold on, though. This is, I think, what I've been trying to say, and I just wasn't getting it. The schematic is the measurements of the item. Mm-hmm. It's not the measurements you're trying to get or the measurements of the body. So I think Josephine hit the nail on the head when she said, you want to give this measurement, the cross front, from shoulder seam to shoulder seam. You want to give this measurement of the garment, right? You want to give this measurement. But when you get to here, on the actual garment, you're going to be here. Mm-hmm. And the differences in here might change if there's bust darts or something, but the measurement that's going to be what you chose a size on based on your upper chest, the measurement that's going to be changed in the garment to accommodate that upper chest is going to be this, and the shoulder seams and the neckline and all this business up here. Mm-hmm. So I think that it needs to be sized that way, and the measurements you want to give on the schematic are this, the neck circumference, the bust. You know what I'm saying? Right. Knitters in my group who have a size D cup or more often find a good fit in the shoulders by using the upper chest measurement, adding 2 inches, and choosing the bust measurement nearest that. And that's the thing that's so important about the upper chest, I think, is because there is, in some people, a large difference between the upper chest and their full bust measurement. And there is, in some people, a very small difference. Right. If there is any kind of difference between here and here, and choosing by the bust is not going to fit you. Yeah. But it all depends on the style and the knitter's
It depends on the style of the sweater. And it depends on, this is why it's important to give your knitters exact, as many finished measurements of the finished item, the finished product that they're going to be knitting as is possible. So either for blocking purposes or for sizing purposes. The knitter needs to know, if I follow your pattern, what am I going to get at the end? And that's what your schematic needs to tell them. If you choose to include the cross shoulder measurement or an upper chest circumference, that's totally fine. That may help them to choose their size, but it should be, the only should is that you need to include the information that gives your knitter the best information that they can to choose a size and to knit the pattern according to their dimensions, their body size.
I think it's important on the pattern to have, you're going to have two numbers. You're going to have sizes, which is what body size this sweater fits.
Right.
If you don't want to do that by the bust, hello. So you could do sized to fit, upper chest measurement, XXXXX. And then the schematic is going to be the finished measurements of the actual garment. I do think it's important to have sizes on there as well as finished measurements. I don't think they're the same thing. Now, I know that not all designers agree with me. There are designers who don't put sizing information. They just put the finished measurements. And that's fine. Like we always say, like, this is just our opinion. You know what I mean?
Yes. We're opinionated.
This has been a bad day. My kids, my phone, sizing and finished measurements are not the same. And I think that both of those things really help the knitter to have them on the pattern, as well as like your ease intentions. I think it's really important. And I'm sorry, you guys, for all the interruptions.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. So let's define again ease, too, so that people understand that. Remember that you want to include that your pattern fits to a certain body size and define what that size is, if it's bust circumference or upper chest circumference. Some people, I've even seen patterns where they're like, choose your size according to your bicep circumference, because maybe that's a very important part in a drop shoulder design. And you also should tell this is something I'm going to do a should here. You should tell your knitter what the intended ease is. What was it designed with? So if you're sizing according to body bust size, then choose a size that fits with 4 inches of positive ease, or 10 centimeters of positive ease, so that they can decide if they want that much extra space between their body and the finished garment. Positive ease is the space between, and negative ease would be the piece has to stretch to fit over the body.
Right.
So those things are important to include. Liz says, but it all depends on the style and the knitter's fit preference. And that's exactly it. What you want to do is always when you're writing a pattern is include the information that's going to give the knitter the success in choosing a size and in completing the finished object.
Right.
And it isn't the same for every design. It's going to be a little slightly different depending on your design and what the finished object looks like. All right, so I think while we attacked that, I think we kind of skirted around the upper chest issue a little bit. We're going to probably come back to that in the future.
Do you think we skirted around it?
I skirted around it. I think you nailed it.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that we both think it's a really helpful way to size garments to get you better fit.
Especially, okay, I'm going to say this. If you choose to size a garment according to the circumference of the upper chest, you may use that, especially when you are applying bust starts. In other words, the knitter gets to choose the size at the bust, whether or not the cup size match it, if there's some modification that they can make. All right, I just got a timer.
Upper bust and using bust starts is a great way to go. Now, I know bust starts are intimidating to some people. It feels like a lot of it's hard, but it's definitely, I think it's worth learning. I really do.
So this is, my timer's almost up. We have 1 minute left, so I'm going to wrap this up for this month. We are here on Tech Tip Talks, here on Instagram Live every third Monday. At noon Eastern Time. We take your questions all month long and we address them here in our live chat. Feel free to send us questions anytime if you have them, and we would love to answer them here. Do we have our date for our next Tech Tip Talk?
The next one will be April 19th.
April 19th at noon Eastern Time. And we'll see you here. Thanks for joining us today. We love chatting with you.
Thanks for joining us at our new home on Instagram.
Yay! And please go check out our YouTube channel and our website. And we'll see you next month. Take care, you guys. Bye.
Bye.